Come close, love. There's something that I want to take a look at together. Are you in a place where you can hear me? Because I want you to really soak in what I have to say. I come offering transformation. I come full of love. And I so deeply want you to experience for yourself what is so often only talked about or imagined. My full presence to all things. My part in your being and your part in my being. I want to clean you up, cut off what no longer serves you, and show you how deeply and truly everything is enjoined to me. What's yours to do is going to sound simplistic, but it's hard. Trust me, I know. People tend to get in their own way when it comes to connection. So what I am asking you is to open, to show me where it hurts. Because right there is where I come in. I am meeting you sore to sore, wound to wound, to nourish you by the intimacy of my own blood and guide you into the mystery and miracle of my deep healing way. I want to bring you closer into me. I want you to experience me and my love firsthand, source to soul. I want you to know that you are soaked in me. You are within my love everywhere, always, and my love is never exhausted. So share the spirit of it freely. Give without worry or desperation. Let love move among you, soul to soul. My heart is set on you. I am here, active and present. I am yours and you are mine. I will never leave you. So trust, remain, rest assured. Be still and know. You are within my love, everywhere, always, source to soul, and my love is never exhausted.
Good morning, Bedford United Church. Welcome everyone viewing from home. My name's Matthew Fillier, and I'm your preacher today for the service. And I'm going to I'll let our worship assistant introduce herself now in a minute. But friends, we just want to welcome you all, however you are tuning in, wherever you are tuning in from. Here we go again. We know how to do this together, and our deepest thanks to our audiovisual team who continue to skipper us through these waves of COVID-19. But we're here, we're connected. Friends, there will be some occasional, or at least periodic for sure, midweek programming and ways for us to connect as well. So keep your eye tuned on our Facebook page and on our homepage and your weekly emails. And we'll remind you of how we're gathering for Facebook Live Vespers, or maybe we'll do some Zoom Vespers. We've got lots that's cooking to keep BUC going, so don't worry, we will be connected. Friends, as we get going this morning, I got a couple of really big thank yous I gotta do. The first one is to acknowledge that this is Diane Tingley's last Sunday as our temporary minister of congregational care. And Diane has really stepped in to help us at a time when Reverend Katie even had to be off for restorative care. And we're so excited that Katie is coming back on Monday. That's so thrilling and wonderful to have her back among us. And so, Diane, if you're watching today, we just wanted to say from the bottom of our hearts, you have saved our bacon multiple times. And we are so, so deeply thankful for your ministry, your leadership, that is not just in this time, but all the time that you have been involved as a staff member at Bedford United Church. You mean the world to us, Diane, and we don't know what we do without you. And friends, I hope you can offer a happy hallelujah, a hoot and a holler that Katie is coming back. She is so thrilled with all the support that she's had. You've been so kind to her and Andrew and Molly and Laura as they've made their way through a difficult time. We all know a little something about that these days in a profound way. And so thank you so much for your prayers and your support. And I'm sure you'll see Katie around here next week. The other thank you I have to do is to Terry Choice and Patricia Watson for knocking it out of the park, for being phenomenal lay worship leaders here at the church, regular members of our congregation who have incredible skills, and they just did an amazing job last week. And thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Terry, for offering your gifts this way. And if you'd like to be involved in worship at BUC in any way, just shoot us an email and let us know. Tap us on the shoulder. We'd love to have you as a part of worship. The last thing I'm going to do before I turn it over is to simply say that for the next 8 weeks, we're going to go on a little bit of a journey that's all about using our spiritual resources, our acts of spirituality, reclaiming those as a form of recovery that leads to resurrection. That really, for a lot of people, it's been a hard journey, this latest wave of Omicron. So we're really going to take some time to think about how do we reclaim those spiritual practices that can fill us up when we've really felt like we're emptied out. And that will lead us into the Lenten season this year. So stay tuned. For right now, I'm going to turn it over to a fabulous companion who many of you will know and will take great peace at knowing she's at the helm today. Over to you.
Good morning, and welcome to Bedford United Church. My name is Mary Louise Mills, and I am a longtime member of BUC, and I've presided many times in the past. I live alone now, but I am constantly in touch with other members of our community. Even if it's an online connection, which it will be for the next month at least here, we can feel each other's presence. So I am very grateful to be here with 6 other people. This is the most people I've seen since Christmas, even at a distance. And we are so happy that you've joined us. I have to look up because, of course, the only person in the pew is our scripture reader, Rena Hill. So welcome to everyone. I have a couple of little announcements just before we get started. Paige and Lauren are preparing online learning survival kits for children and youth in our community. If you would like to receive a kit or support this ministry by helping with contactless deliveries, please contact Paige at paige.fraser@bedfordunited.com. I would also remind everyone listening to share our live stream and posts with anyone you feel might benefit from this connection. And you can watch them after the fact. So if you feel this was really good this week and you want to share it with somebody, do that. At Bedford United Church, and as part of the United Church of Canada, we recognize that we live, work, and worship in the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We acknowledge that the work of justice is not just about how we treat people who enter the 4 walls of our church. What matters is how we treat people out in the world. We are committed to a journey that leads us into a land where all people, including our Indigenous neighbors and nations, live in justice and peace together. A way to tend reconciliation is simply education. Did you know that after a 10-year legal struggle, there was a recent settlement for residential school day scholars and our federal government? Just Google it and educate yourself and others on the actions our government is taking on our behalf. Now, I'm going to actually start the worship part of our service by lighting the candles. God is here all the time. All the time, God is here. All are welcome. All the time, all are welcome.
Good morning. I'm on this camera, right? Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you. It's very cold and dry out today. And because of that, I might start coughing at any moment. Bear with me if I do. Maybe you're feeling dry today. And if you are, you've come to the right spot, because God is here and the Spirit wants to quench your thirst. And I'm sure as we go through this next 45 minutes or so, you will be able to say when you leave, yeah, I'm not as thirsty. We're going to begin with Called by Earth and Sky. So if you have your more voices at home, you can turn to 135 or follow the words on your screen and sing along with me. Called by earth and sky, promise of hope held high. This is our sacred living trust, treasure of life sanctified. Called by earth and sky, precious these waters, endless seas, deep oceans dream, waters of healing, rivers of rain, the wash of love again. Called by earth and sky, promise of hope held high. This is our sacred living trust, treasure of life sanctified. Called by earth and sky. Precious this gift, the air we breathe, wind-born and free, breath of the Spirit blow through this place, our gathering and our grace. Called by earth and sky, promise of hope held high. This is our sacred living trust, treasure of life sanctified. Called by earth and sky. Precious these mountains, ancient sands, vast, fragile land, seeds of our awakening, rooted and strong, creation's faithful song. Called by earth and sky, promise of hope held high. This is our sacred living trust, treasure of life sanctified. Called by earth and sky. Precious the fire that lights our way, bright dawning day, fire of passion, sorrows undone, our faith and justice won. Called by earth and sky, promise of hope held high. This is our sacred living trust, treasure of life sanctified. Called by earth and sky. Called by earth and sky. Next, let's sing together More Voices 150. Spirit God, be our breath. Spirit God, be our breath, be our song. Blow through us, bringing strength to move on. Our world seems inward, defensive and drawn. Spirit God, be our song. Patient God, soothe our pride, calm our fear. Comfort us when we know you are near. We grow most certain our vision is clear. Patient God, calm our fear. Loving God, be our voice, be our prayer. Reaching out, joining hands as we share. We seek your guidance through friendship and care. Loving God, be our prayer. Spirit God, be our breath, be our song. Blow through us, bringing strength to move on. Through change, through challenge, we'll greet the new dawn. Spirit God, be our song. As we move further and prepare to hear the word of God today, let's quiet our hearts and prepare to be a sanctuary where God can take residence and allow the Spirit to speak to us. God, prepare me to be a sanctuary. God, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. God, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. I'm going to sing this one more time. And as I do, I'd like you right where you are to close your eyes, center yourself, and just think about maybe some place in your life today that you need some peace or some healing or some sanctuary. All right? God, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Amen.
Good morning. This morning we are reading from Mark chapters 46 to 52. Today we are going to hear a healing story from our sacred stories. Healing stories often have a pattern, more or less. Someone has a problem, there is some factor that complicates matters, Jesus effects the cure, the result is confirmed, and then there is some response to a miracle. Within this passage and elsewhere in Mark's Gospel, however, are indicators that he has had other interests in mind. This is not simply a healing story, but it's also a call story, and the one who is healed becomes an example of a true disciple. As we begin our journey of recovering our spiritual practices as a way to recover from the challenges of the latest wave of COVID, let's notice that the one who is healed is powerless. I wonder, can powerlessness be a way to find a new life? Let's find out. Jesus and the disciples came to Jericho. As Jesus was leaving Jericho with the disciples and a large crowd, a blind beggar named Bartimaeus was sitting at the side of the road. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout and say, "Heir of David, Jesus, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him here." So they called the blind man. "Don't be afraid," they said. "Get up, Jesus is calling you." So throwing off his cloak, Bartimaeus jumped up and went to Jesus. Then Jesus said, "What do you want me to do for you?" "Rabbi," he said, the blind man said, "I want to see." Jesus replied, "Go, your faith has saved you." And immediately Bartimaeus received the gift of sight and began to follow Jesus along the road. Here is wisdom. Thanks be to God.
Thank you so much, Rena. Well, friends, I want you to take a journey with me. I want you to go back in time, back to the good old days, maybe, of cable TV. Can you do that for me? Remember when it'd be 7 o'clock at night and you'd be sitting in your chair watching, Golden Girls? Or maybe it was Three's Company. Maybe it's Friends or Seinfeld. But you'd be watching your favorite show and everything would be swell. And you'd be waiting for the next twist in the plot. And then a talking head would come on and interrupt everything and say, "We regret to interrupt your regularly scheduled programming for this breaking news alert." And you'd be like, shoot, there goes the rest of my night. Because it didn't matter what channel you turned to, until they were done, you would not get back to that TV program you were watching. It used to be that interruptions were occasional in our lives. And now it's like that's the normal, right? It's always a level of interruption, disruption, putting our life on pause. And I wonder if you're like me, would you like to get back to your regularly scheduled programming sometime soon? Are you really feeling that? I'd like to regularly give you hugs and just be able to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'd love to regularly see people in church and maybe just go to work and have my kid go to school and maybe catch a movie with my wife. I'd really like to do that regularly. How about you? You want to get back to that regularly scheduled program? A friend of mine, we were talking on Zoom recently, and he was just so upset. He said to me, "Matt, it's 2022. It's been 2 years, and there's 2 rounds of vaccines, boosters, we've had lockdowns, we've all made sacrifices, and I feel like I'm right back to where I started in 2020. What in God's name is going on?" And he was so upset, he was trembling. The pastor in me, I just saw this deep wound. And it's not just grief or loss, anger or frustration, but it's powerlessness that I was seeing. And that's the confrontation of the reality that the degree to which we are in control of our world and our lives is very small. Not only right now, but truthfully most of the time. And coming face to face with that is scary and overwhelming. There's this line from a parishioner I once worked with that's been kicking around my heart lately. He was struggling with substance addiction, and he said, from tsunamis to gentle ones rolling on the shore, his withdrawal came in waves. That language of addiction and withdrawal has really been sticking with me in this Omicron wave. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can say honestly, I am physiologically aching with the need to get my next normal fix. What about you? That got me to thinking, what if our regularly scheduled programming isn't always as good for us as we like to remember? Like maybe our regularly scheduled programming is an addiction to the drug of working more than full time and believing we can be the parents and the people we want to be at the same time. Maybe our regularly scheduled programming is an addiction to the drug of working to pay for things that we can never afford and don't last, all while convincing ourselves we're working for the eternal, non-perishable goods of God's kingdom. Maybe we're addicted to a way of living that ensures that rasp of poverty files away the humanity of families who, without a guaranteed living income, just can't pay their way because Human rights are not restrictions that can be lifted. They're acts of justice and love that have to be gifted so people can be free to live with dignity and respect. What if Omicron is an invitation to stop living in the matrix of our regularly scheduled programming and reimagine what this life and this world can be about? Maybe we're addicted to the individualistic fantasy that I am the source of my own power. I am in control. I've pulled up my own bootstraps all on my own and made my own man or woman or person. How much of the time do I say to myself, God, I love you, I know you, but you know what? I got this. I got this all on my own. You ever find yourself doing that in your life? I wonder who among us has all this, all on their own today. Our addiction to competition and vanity is so great, we need powerlessness for faith. Who can truly say they've pulled up their own bootstraps in the wreckage of the last 2 years instead of stumbling along the road with the rest of us as best they can? I wonder. That's the addiction talking. COVID has been a great teacher of humility and powerlessness for me. It's taught me over and over again, as hard as it is, that it's okay for me to say, you know what, I don't have this. If you can admit and recognize that maybe you don't have this today, I think the gospel believes you are on the road of a truly transformative spirituality. Maybe I don't have this. And maybe my powerlessness is actually good news. Because God's power is always relational. It's never over and against. It's broken and broken open. That's God's power. Loving your life and losing it. Things being dead and things emerging in resurrection. Our sacred stories attest it's when it's all fallen apart and there's just parched ground that we confessed, how am I going to do this? That's when deserts bloom. It is in my powerlessness that the great source of everything draws near, revealing that we got anything that comes our way, Omicron included. In the naked exposure of the vulnerability of our common humanity, the Spirit draws near, and we see ourselves and one another just as we are, banged up and often broken up people who see the truth. No one goes it alone in this world or this life. What if we're invited to stop the regularly scheduled programming that's satisfied with schools as the only place where our children in Nova Scotia can eat a good meal, where they can be somewhat physically safe from violence and relatively safe from mental abuse and neglect, and have nourishing peer relationships for the development of their personhood? Oh yeah, and learn their ABCs as well. What if now is the time to stop saying, it's sad, but that's just the way it is. So let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming fast as we can and assure that nothing changes. Sure, we can't fix everyone or everything, but nor should we ever be satisfied that we can't. That's not faith. That's slavery. That's an addiction to apathy and cynicism of privilege that's talking, not the good news of Christ. God's love can never be exhausted, and people of the Spirit can never be satisfied to leave our neighbors bound to just the way it is. Omicron may have turned all our plans upside down. Fine. So let's take the time to overturn the soil and plant, sowing seeds for a new tomorrow instead. Powerlessness is powerful when it's born by faith in the impossible and not bound to the sight of just the way it is. It's the first push against the stone that seals us in the tomb. It cracks the hardened heart so it can be broken open, so that even in the deserted places of our lives, flowers can bloom and waters of life can flow. We don't have to return to our regularly scheduled programming, nor do we have to live in constant uncertainty and fear. Just ask Bartimaeus. Brother Bart is a case study in what it means to be powerless. He's son of Timaeus, but where's his family? They're nowhere. They're not in the story. He's all alone in this world. And because he's got no family, he's not eligible to be married, which in our time is not a big deal, but in the ancient Near East, when it's a commandment from God to go forth and multiply, it's a problem. He can't get married. He can't start a family of his own. He also can't work because he's got a disability, let alone his social status, and he can't participate in religious life. There's no church and state separation here, friends. So he's completely excluded. He is marginal. He lives in liminal space. He can hardly be said to be alive, let alone fully human. He's powerless. And the only thing he's got, Brother Bart, is his cloak. Cloaks are important in Scripture. They're very powerful symbols. But take a look at this. So his cloak shields him from the elements. It might help him deflect some blows from physical abuse as a person on the street. It can be a place where he can collect some money if people are generous, but that's about it. That's the level of Bart's power. That's pretty powerless. And from that abject place of powerlessness, he calls out to Jesus as heir of David, have mercy. That's not cynicism, that's faith from powerlessness. And the crowd wants everything to return to the regularly scheduled program. They say, listen, Bart, this is your bed. You made it. God is mad at you because you did something to deserve this punishment. It's not our problem. Don't look to us to save you or help you. You're on your own and you deserve what's coming to you. Jesus has none of that. He says, call Bart to come forward. I wonder what gets in the way of confronting our own powerlessness so that God can draw near to us and actually be God for us. Bartimaeus throws off his cloak of his regularly scheduled program and he embraces this powerlessness, and Christ fills him with this new reality and a new possibility. Are we ready to throw off the thin veil of our regularly scheduled programming and begin to live a new life? Bartimaeus asks for sight, but let's be real. He's not going to go get an Ivy League education, earn 6 figures, become a hedge fund manager, get a golden parachute, and spend the rest of his days nibbling on grapes by the Mediterranean. That's not the story. He follows Jesus on the road. That's what his sight imparts, the way to a full, abundant life of the Spirit. And do we know anything about Bart? Like, what if he's a total dumpster fire of a human being? Does he even deserve to be healed? Jesus considers none of that. That's the radical, resurrecting, restoring, recovering grace of God for you. For Bart, can you imagine how hard it is to see a God of benevolence versus a God who wants to beat the living daylights out of you because of all your shortcomings and failures? I mean, that's great news because the crowd sees God that way, but they come to see God as the exact opposite in the story. This is a beautiful story about the crowd. For many of us, the notion that God cherishes you the way your ideal parent would cherish their child is really unimaginable. This is not stuff that's believable up front. This is deep and abiding faith that springs up from the well of confronting your own powerlessness. And Bart's powerlessness enables him, and the crowd for that matter, to let God be who God really is. God's not hiding out somewhere waiting for us to be really good, successful, tidy, and put together people so God can bear to hold their nose and come near and touch us. Did we not hear the story of Christmas? God is compassionate, wildly loving, longing to restore us with a ridiculous joy that surprises and defies our expectations. Powerlessness is not a weakness. It's the wound that sets the Spirit's journey into motion. There is a power in this universe that is benevolent and on your side, a force that longs to love and nurture you. If you've come to the end of your own resources this morning, well, God is not holding you over the fire like a spider. Listen, God is calling you to take a handful of Spirit seeds and get on your hands and knees in the muck beside her, planting and growing a new vision of tomorrow where all are welcome, where there's room for all at the table, where no one harvests the withered fruits of just the way it is anymore. Here's powerlessness as an act of spiritual recovery for you in a nutshell. Can't believe I'm going to say this morning. Talk about a confession. I saw this on Facebook, Lord, but it was good. It was an image of these gorgeous flowers, and there were words written over top. And the words were, question, what do you hope to see at the end of the pandemic? Answer, flowers. Question, why? Answer, because today I'm busy planting seeds. All the flowers of all the tomorrows are in the seeds of today, even this Sunday in the Omicron wave. That was true for Bartimaeus then. It's true for Nova Scotia and our world right now. But you see, at times we are going to feel powerless, but great is our faith in that weakness because God is here all the time, no matter how we're feeling. We might not be able to plan ahead, so we'll plant seeds today for the harvest of all our tomorrows instead. Our story is that deserts bloom, that in the rubble, beacons still shine on Sullivan's Hill. From that tomb, there isn't just more leftovers of the way it is, but the way of Christ, of the Spirit, of life everlasting. So today, if you're feeling like maybe you don't got this, good news. Because our faith reminds us together with the Spirit, we got this. All of us. Together. And all the people said, Amen. Friends, the Spirit in me honors the Spirit in you.
Breathe on me, breath of God. Fill me with life anew, that I may love what thou dost love, and do what thou wouldst do. Breathe on me, breath of God, until my heart is pure, until my will is one with thine, to do and to endure. Breathe on me, breath of God, till I am wholly thine, until this earthly part of me glows with thy fire divine. Breathe on me, breath of God, so shall I never die, but live with thee the perfect life.
This is the time we would normally be receiving our offering. So I'd like to remind you that BUC is still here, working diligently to support our church and wider community. Things like the survival kits that Paige and Lauren are organizing can't happen without your support. And while we have a wonderful team of volunteers, even our technology needs support. You can give in various ways through PAR, which is pre-authorized remittance, a great way to know you are providing regular needed aid, by e-transfer to bucetransfers@bedfordunited.com, and the password is namaste, or by checks, which can be left at the church with contactless ease via the mail slot near the side door. God, we are reminded of the many blessings that you have provided. And so we offer our time, our talents, and our treasures to help in the efforts of everyone continuing to make your world safer and healthier for all. May it be so.
Deep in our hearts, there is a common vision. Deep in our hearts, there is a common song. Deep in our hearts, there is a common story, telling creation that we are one. Deep in our hearts, there is a common purpose. Deep in our hearts, there is a common goal. Deep in our hearts, there is a sacred message, justice and peace in harmony. Deep in our hearts, there is a common longing. Deep in our hearts, there is a common theme. Deep in our hearts, there is a common current flowing to freedom like a stream. Deep in our hearts, there is a common vision. Deep in our hearts, there is a common song. Deep in our hearts, there is a common story, telling creation that we are one.
Thank you so much, Tony. Friends, we're going to gather to pray. We're going to share a beautiful video entitled The Great Reversal. It's a lovely, lovely prayer, and I hope it really speaks to your mind and your heart. Before we do that, I'm just going to invite you to just still yourself and open your mind and your heart and your spirit. So just relax your body. Wherever you're sitting on the couch, on a chair, let those muscles loosen. Just feel your feet planted on the good earth below you, that even though it changes, it remains solid and firm as a rock. And just breathe deep. And hold it. And let it go. Just let that breath of the Spirit come into your body. And let it go. And as we breathe, we remember that the psalmist sang, there is no place we can go where God has not already been, and that includes the place of our powerlessness. So just take a moment and let that place in your life surface. Maybe you feel powerless about your family or your job, your kids, state of the world. Let that surface and know that the Spirit is here with you as it does. You're not alone. As that surfaces, remember, feel that energy of connection that isn't just dependent on where our bodies can be.
Look up, love. Take your eyes off the ground. Show your face. A new day is here. The light is rising over you, shining brightly, moving shadows, touching your face. You are brilliant with it. Darkness may come and go, but the glory of our Creator is a constant companion, a steady light. Many will see you struggle to live. Your choice to stand up and walk in the light and be changed. Have the courage to truly see not only the problems, but the one who remains with you holding the light. We are all coming together. Family, neighbor, and exiles, taking our seats at the table. We are learning. We are healing. So, take the gift of this day you are given. Let the light enlighten you, emanate from within you, become you, be you. Power is shifting, and it won't look like what we think when love reigns. Cities riddled with the wreckage of war and marked by the scars of empire will exchange the sounds of violence and ruin for the clamor of co-creation and communion. Through the power of God, the oppressed and those stripped of their land are allowed to share in power. We all will weigh in. Life will grow from the most unexpected places. The smallest and least will be welcomed into the center, and their perspective will matter. Not only will violence cease, we won't want to hurt one another, but cooperate for the goodness of all. The whole nature of creation will change. The sun and moon will not be the light we revolve around. We will turn and grow by the light of God that shows us the illumined way to go. We will be ruled by the power of love. We will be remade and refastened to God and one another. We will learn what harmony means. Look up, love. Take your eyes off the ground. Show your face. A new day is here. The light is rising over you, shining brightly, moving shadows, touching your face. You are brilliant with it. Everything wrong side up is being upended. The table is extending, rounding. You have a place that is only yours. And everyone at this table will have more than enough. So, stand up, open up, take it all in, and shine.
As we come to the end of our service, I'd just like to thank you all for joining us. I'm sort of missing the chat that goes on in between items, and I'll check in on that when I get home. But it's been wonderful to share this morning with you. And for the blessing this morning, I'm using something from the United Church of Canada. It's from the Prayer for Times of Change. God is creating new paths and possibilities as we prepare for where we are going. Christ is freeing us with newfound love and grace as we learn from where we have been. The Spirit is revealing new dreams to guide us as we start our journey home on a new path. We take courage in the assurance that God goes with us. We affirm our call to go where Christ leads, and we trust the Spirit to guide us through the challenging space between where we have been, where we are, and where we are going. Surely we are not alone. Thanks be to God.
How many of you remember this before we sing this hymn? On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. Do you guys not remember that old hymn? All other ground is sinking sand. We're going to sing Like a Rock. Just thought of that hymn as I was, and it's in the same key. I might have to do a remix soon. Matt, do you know the actions to Like a Rock? Let's put the camera on Matt. Please, Paul. We don't need to put the words up. I guess we could swap it out and just have the camera on Matt. Everyone probably knows this at home. Just so they can see the actions. All right, here we go. Like a rock, God is under our feet. Like the starry night sky, God is over our head. Like the sun on the horizon, God is ever before. Like the river turns to ocean, our home is in God evermore. I want you at home to stand up right in your living room or in your kitchen, wherever you are, and we're going to do the actions again. Matt's going to show you. Here we go. Like a rock, God is under our feet. Like the starry night sky, God is over our head. Like the sun on the horizon, God is ever before. Like the river runs to ocean, our home is in God evermore. We're going to do it again a little bit faster. Here we go. Like a rock, God is under our feet. Like the starry night sky, God is over our head. Like the sun on the horizon, God is ever before. Like the river turns to ocean, our home is in God evermore. Happy New Year, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday.